Hey everybody, welcome to the Private Club Radio Show, where we give you the scoop on all things private golf and country clubs, from mastering leadership and management, food and beverage excellence, member engagement secrets, board governance, and everything in between, all while keeping it fun and light. Whether you're a club veteran just getting your feet wet or somewhere in the middle, you are in the right place. I'm your host, Denny Corby. Welcome to the show. In this episode, I'm chatting with a new friend of mine, Dana Cancellaro, CCM. She's the GM, COO, Chief Operating Officer over at Crestmont Country Club, West Orange, New York. And we start off with a fantastic story of her sharing, because she has an amazing background from working at Ethan Allen, doing radio sales, and then finding clubs. And we start off with a really great story of how she was working at a hotel late at night in a big storm, and Stephen King walks in, the Stephen King. So we start off with a really cool story, and we talk a lot about mentorship and the rising through the ranks, and in her journey as being an openly gay club manager. We talk about how inclusivity and equity are crucial in the club industry and what her journey was like. The ups, the downs, the goods, the bads, the challenges and triumphs that she's faced in the industry. And what it really boils down to, and a really cool point, is things really fell into place when she was able to be her authentic self. In the episode, we talk and have insights on handling member complaints and negative feedback, and what that means and how to handle that. And she's a big dog person, so triple kudos in my book. Dog people are the best people. And she has Frenchies, and I have an English bulldog, so I love bulldog ownership. But no, I'm very excited for this episode. It is really good. If you have not done so already, make sure you sign up for our newsletter to stay up to date with all of our latest releases and content. Head over to privateclubradio.com. Wait about a couple seconds. The box pops up. Big thanks to some of our show partners. We have Concert Golf Partners, Kenneth Member Vetting, and Golf Life Navigators. You're going to hear about them later on more in the show. But right now, let's welcome to the show, Dana Cancellaro.
Working at a hotel was a lot of fun. I worked at the front desk for a while, the catering, and I met Stephen King there. That was cool.
What?
Yeah,
because he's up in that area.
Moment of my life. Yeah, he's from Maine, so he was in Maine, and this was after he got hit by the car. Like, this is right after, that whole thing where he was walking and he got hit by the car, and he was like on the side of the road. Oh my God, you can't make this stuff up. Yeah, I was at the front desk. Sorry, if you have time, I'll tell you anecdotally.
I'll make time. This is gold.
Yeah, it was nuts. So I get a phone call. It's a dark winter night. There's like 3 people staying in the hotel. I'm by myself. I'm at the front desk. It's myself, the bartender at the restaurant, and 1 security guard. That's it. That's the entire staff on that night.
Is this The Shining? Like, what?
Yeah, basically, right? So I get a phone call from this woman, and she's like, one of my clients is driving through and he's getting tired. Do you guys have any rooms available? And I'm like, oh, yeah, absolutely. She goes, oh, well, he's kind of a VIP. Do you have a nice room? I'm like, yeah, we have a suite. Telling her all about it. She's like, that sounds perfect. I said, great. Last name? She's like, King. I'm like, King. First name? She's like, Stephen. I was like, the Stephen King. So I take all the details, I get it. She's like, he'll be there in about a half hour. I said, okay, great. So I'm there, like, not breathing, right, for about a half hour straight. And then
any noise.
I'm not even kidding you. You can't make this stuff up, right? It's like the wind howls, the automatic doors open, the snow is flying in the background, and this huge zombie figure man comes limping in the front desk, like right up to the front desk. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, this is how I'm going to die. Like, this is it. I'm done. I'm toast. Yeah, this is the end of my story. And I check him in. I'm being so professional because we had training on how to be professional with famous people. I'm professional. I check this man in, and he walks away. And I'm not even kidding you. He takes 3 steps and he turns around and he says to me, don't you love empty hotels on winter nights? And I was like, no, sir, I don't. And it's because of you. Yeah. Scariest thing I've ever happened. I was like, wow, I got to call my mom. I got to get my affairs in order. Like, I was like counting the minutes for the night audit woman to come in. I was like, this is it. This is how I'm going to die. This is crazy. I'm too young for this. Please no.
This is it. This is it.
Yeah, that was
it.
The
Grim Reaper has showed up.
Yeah, exactly. So after that, I got out of hotels. I was like, this business is too dangerous.
Let me get into private clubs.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry,
Uh,
just to
no.
bore you with that
So
story.
no, that was an awesome.
The industry needed some rainbows, though. I'm glad I could bring it.
That's had it's had to affect the journey. Like that's
Oh
had
yeah.
to have.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah. Yeah.
What was it? I mean,
Nice.
like was it as difficult before coming in? Like, did you know how difficult it was going to be coming into the industry? And was it as difficult as you thought? And has it gotten better?
Oh, it's gotten better in some instances, right? Like I'm at like my club right now, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I remember my very first conversation when I was, mid manager, and I'm speaking to my AGM, and I'm like, "Well, what do you want me to say to people?" Because they keep asking me if I have a boyfriend, a husband. Like, what should I say? He's like, and you see him like bouncing up and down in the chair, being all uncomfortable. I'm like, whenever you're ready, just tell me what I should say and I'll say it. I don't want
Yeah.
to lose my job. I don't want to get in trouble. But he was actually very nice about it. And it was just, I guess whatever you're comfortable saying and continuing to work comfortably, that's what you say. I was like, oh, okay, great. My non answer. But then, I just started after that, I just kind of made it a point to always drop that in an interview somehow, like just so you
Yeah.
know what you're getting into. And then since then, actually, now that I'm like this, I've become like a pillar of the openly gay club management community somehow. Um, I've had young people call me. Like I've literally had calls and emails from like young gay club managers that were like, how do I come out at work? Like, what do I say? I'm like, well, what'd you say to your parents? Start there. Let's
Yeah.
start with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be tricky. But now
Yeah.
I make sure it's very like prominent.
So no, I was actually going to talk about like I love just the story from the young hustler go getter Dana to get to me. I just go back and then like the Stephen King story, which I'm not going to have you tell again because I still have it from the first time, and I'm going to make sure it comes in because it's so good.
Yeah,
But I was going to talk about more like the mentor because I liked what we were talking about mentorship. But I mean, if
yeah.
you want to go into like being a gay club manager, like what that has been like. Because that I think the I mean, have you talked about like the early beginning stuff? Like that had to be so difficult. Maybe or I could be totally wrong, but
No, I know it's tricky, right? It's because again, you like find an industry that you love,
yeah,
and you're not sure if it's going to love you back, right? That's the hard part. And it's like I work hard. Everyone's telling me I do a good job, but this like fundamental piece of me, like,
yeah,
is that something all of a sudden that's going to make this industry like not possible for me? And it's not. I don't think it's by design, right? The club industry's always been behind. We're light years behind everybody all the time. But it was one of the things I said when I was on the Metropolitan Board. Was guys, this is something we can't afford to be behind on. When
yeah,
it comes to diversity and equity, like we can't afford to because it's hard enough to get young kids to work in our business. Right now, you're going to alienate a whole group of them and say, by the way, thanks for applying, but not sure this industry fits. Who you are. That's a tough message, and so I've always been a big proponent of just inclusivity and equity across the board in clubs, and it's not easy. It's
yeah,
not. We're not built for that. We're built clubs. Literally, what's the thing people say about clubs? My club's the most exclusive. Great. Yeah, let's put the sign up on the door: members only, private, don't come in.
yeah.
So it's tricky to build inclusivity into a quite literal exclusive environment, but I think we're doing really well, and big chapters like the Metropolitan chapter is working so hard to change that, and it's incredible. It's a really great thing.
What were some of the beginning steps? Like what were some of the beginning, I don't want to say baby steps, but like what were things that helped get momentum forward? What were things that were done that you can remember that, were just good things that just kept and got the ball rolling?
On that front, I think for me it was just having the fact that I was very lucky to have sort of very supportive general managers as I was a younger manager. And I would have to say part of it really was geography. I'm mostly in New York,
Mm.
which is usually in the forefront of a lot of things. I'm not, I'd never worked in one of the square states in the middle. I don't know
S-
how that would go, and that that can be
No,
tricky.
no, no. That there's something to be said there. Whether you did it on purpose or not, but like you put yourself or were, it seems like in a position to where there were more opportunities in trying to put, like, I don't want to say, what is it, like a square peg in like a circle hole, but it's like,
Right.
okay, if you're gonna fight the battle, like maybe put the odds in your favor a little bit more. I don't know.
Well, exactly. Exactly. It's
Maybe.
like, but that's the thing in the club business across the board anyway, right? It's go somewhere where you're the fit, right? Where you make sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, that does apply very much with, folks with, who come from a different background, let's say. Because it applies with, it's not just, gay, straight, it's a lot of things. Even women in club management for, decades, that was like, oh, there's not that many women at the table. Then all of a sudden folks noticed and they're like, maybe we should create a specialty group for women in club management, and now we do it all the time. But that just got created, what, 7, 8 years ago? That's still pretty brand new. So the fact that women are groundbreaking now bring the gays to the table and we're like, whoa, forget it. Forget groundbreaking. We're earth shattering, I think, at that point. But it's been baby steps. But yeah, at the beginning, it's you put yourself in the right place and you have to make sure you're comfortable. That's what it's all about. Anyway, even in our personal lives, it's
Yeah.
when you're comfortable, that's when you make the decision to sort of be who you fully are. And that was a big part of my journey as a club manager. Even just the way I spoke to people, quite honestly, I think about it all the time. When I was young, I used to make sure, I want to speak correctly. I can't say anything I would say to my friends. I talk to my friends. When I'm with members, I speak to members. And then after a while, I realized, well, wait a minute, I'm goofy. Like, why am I wasting my time being so serious? Once I started being me and being goofy is actually when my career took off. When I started interviewing as myself rather than as like what I thought I needed to, do and say. My
How
career just skyrocketed from there.
how old were you and how many clubs deep? Like when was that shift?
Yeah, yeah. So when I was an AGM at Nassau Country Club. That was in 2013, 2014. So I just turned 30, 31. Yeah. And I started to realize the members, they were a little more of a down to earth membership. And I was like, oh, I'm so used to speaking the right way and saying the right thing, that, I was like, this isn't really working. Like they're not getting to know me. So I started coming out of my shell more and more, and just being me, which I thought, was the last thing I was supposed to be, on a day to day
Yeah.
basis. I started coming out of my shell a little more. And that's, again, I was fully out at that club, which was great. And then when I had my first interview for Stanford Yacht Club as the incoming general manager, I nailed it. I just walked in and I said, I thought in my head, I'm like, there's no way I'm getting this job. So let me go
Walked
in.
in firing double guns, like we got this, baby.
Yep. Dan Dennehy at the end of the table. I'm like, who's that guy? Never met that guy before. He seems cool. All right. Now I know Dan well, obviously, but at that point I'm like, all right, guy, nice to meet you. Let's go in and see what happens. Just being me, having fun. And you know what? Then at night he's like, hey, they loved you. I'm like, oh, what? Why? So that for me was like a turning point. It was like, oh, okay, you know what? Let me just be myself. I'm wasting time trying to be what I think everyone needs me to be. And let me just be myself because I think, you know what? I'm okay. I'm not for everyone, but I'm okay.
That's awesome. And the like membership fully supports. Have you been in any situations that you've like how have you handled, I don't, I'm sure there's been unique situations. How do you handle, like, when you can, whether a member I don't know if members complain, like I'm sure you've seen everything and heard everything. How do you handle, I mean, I'm sure your skin's got to be thick. Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
just well, and just to go back to your like history of like working in Ethan Allen and doing radio sales. To do radio sales, you got to have thick skin anyway. So
Oh, yeah.
like, so just going back, like, so yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. So I always say it's so funny. Someone, they say something like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like upset you." I'm like, I've been a club manager for 20 years. I don't have feelings anymore. I haven't had a feeling since like 2004. Okay, don't worry, you're not gonna bother me. But yeah, I think my thick skin started well before. I'm the youngest of four, right? So I grew up with three psychological terrorists, basically, Denny. So if you didn't have thick skin in my household, you were not going to make it, right? So it started there. And then really, yes, just like you said, radio sales. I mean, talk about no's, right? It's like, no, thank you. No, no, thank you. Phone hang up, closing doors. I mean, that's really what it was all about. But after a while, you start to realize it's people aren't saying no to you, right? They're saying no to the idea, the concept, the direction of the club, what have you. It's not you personally, right? And that's what you have to remember. That's kind of what keeps you going from day to day, or else, yeah, forget it. You'll just You'll put your head under your blanket and you'll never want to wake up in this business. It's just,
Any
you have to
business.
understand what it's about. Yeah, exactly. So,
So going to back to like the member, like how do you handle as
mhm.
a professional GM? Like what are those conversations like, and what happens? What in those situations?
Sure. So, I mean, I think the most important thing, right? Everyone, I have a reputation when I start at a new club. I'm like, all right, give me your top five. I know you have the top five complainers. The top five, nothing's ever good enough. Nothing's great. Like everything at the club, like it's the members. You're like, why are you a member here if you don't enjoy the club? I'm like, give me those names, right? Let me just sort of take it head on, right? So I will literally seek those people out and I will call them up, email them, whatever it is, text them, whatever I have to do to get them in front of me. Hi, I'm brand new here. I know you've had some issues with the club. Tell me what it is. Let me know. We sit down, we talk. They'll rattle off, 7,000 things that are wrong with the club. And through that conversation, I'll pick off like one or two that are actually doable, changeable things that are, things we can actually take action on. And that's what I do. And I make these tiny little changes that they've been complaining about for decades, right? In some cases, I had one man that complained about something for decades. He was like, I just want to be able to walk my dog up here. I'm going to clean up after him. I need my dog to be walked up here and then I drive him home and that's it. No one ever listens to me. I'm like, well, what time is this? He's like, at like 6 a.m. I'm like, is anyone here? He's like, no, no one's here. I'm like, all right, let me see what I can do. So we did. I was like, you know what? As long as before 7 a.m., anyone can walk their dog here at the club. We had a huge property.
Yeah.
Anyone can walk their dog here as long as they pick up after themselves. After that, I'm not kidding you. That was 3 clubs ago. That man still talks about the fact that I'm the greatest club manager he has ever met and that the club was never better when I was there. But it's the little things, right? Everyone just wants to be heard. And we turn such a deaf ear to the folks that complain all the time that once in a while you have to remember to just listen and just if there's something that you can change for them, just change it. And it makes a huge difference in their world. And that's kind of how I handle the tough ones. But at the end of the day, it's not just members too, it's staff, right? Everyone wants to be heard. So how can we hear them? How can we affect a little bit of change just based on what they have to say?
Yeah. I'm sure I hate going like negative like a tiny bit, but I'm sure you have people talk about you behind your back, or there's been like, chatter at like clubs, that you've been at in the past. How do you handle that professionally and maybe mentally and internally? Someone who doesn't, I was trying to think of like someone who might not have the thick skin and just, in it, whether they're
Yeah,
young or old or whatever, but like, how do you handle that? I think as a general manager and it being your club and their club, how do you, respect those boundaries, so to speak,
sure.
that like level of professionalism when it's not there on both sides.
Mhm.
And then how do you stay strong? How do you also decompress?
Sure. Yeah. Well, for me, I always, I've sort of figured out at a very young age, like who I am, right? I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses. So if I ever get some sort of negative feedback that I know is unfounded, right? Someone hits on something that I know is actually a strength of mine, right? And they're just sort of talking bad about me to talk bad about me. That I have to realize that's not about me. That's about them. And I'm a very forward person. So I'm not above just sort of sitting someone down and saying, hey, you know, what can I do better? Right. I don't start with, I heard you were talking trash about me, No,
Heard you were
it's,
talking smack, yo. Like,
yeah, yeah, no, it's sit that person down directly, right? It's let me hear it, whether it's a member, whether it's a staff member. What is it you think I can do better at the club? I'm just wondering, I'm always trying to improve. So what is it you think I can do better? And let them kind of put it in their own words. That usually flips the script pretty quickly. Like when you call someone out on BS like that, it
yeah,
usually ends pretty quickly. I've had it the opposite way though too. I've had, when we get so busy and you're just, in it and you're going through the motions and you kind of forget to do the important things that you're good at as well. I've heard people say, oh, I wish Dana was more like this. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I am like that. Am I forgetting to be that way? Like that's one of
mm,
my best qualities. And, then I'll sit someone down. It's a very different conversation. And I will say, hey, I heard you said this and I want to thank you because you're right. you know That's the difference is what is the feedback? Is it spiteful and incorrect, or is it accurate and helpful and constructive, even if it's not said to you, right? So I'll sit someone down and I'll say, I know you didn't say it to me, and I'm not trying to betray anyone's trust, but I want to thank you for saying it, because I forgot to see it, and now that you mentioned it, I'm going to do better. And again, that it's not that you're taking the power away; it's you're taking the power back and
Yeah.
saying, "Wow, you really helped me get back to who I knew I could be."
And that's good because you hit it on both ends.
Right?
Like you get the good and like you make sure on both. No, that's a goldie nuggy right there.
Yeah.
That was
Write
a
that one down. That's a good one.
for all you people driving, write it down.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm very upset with is with Apple Podcasts and Spotify, actually, because with audiobooks you can clip it and
Mhm.
you can make notes. Why can't you do that with podcasts? Why is there not like an area you can like make a note on your phone? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just my
Sounds like something you need to invent, though.
I.
You can retire and be a billionaire.
And then Apple's probably like already working on it. They just haven't like released it yet. They're waiting for like
Yeah. I mean, they're
19.8.
listening. They're recording you right now.
Oh, I
So
know. Oh, I know. See, these are actually these are actually tinfoil lined headphones. It's like the new age. You really can't see how crazy I really am. And on our next episode of conspiracy theories is when we really
yeah.
hit home. Um, so speaking of conspiracies, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Ooh. Well, can I answer it both ways?
Yes.
I would say a regular unsliced hot dog, no. But when you slice it down the middle, like they do at some places in New York, and then you squish it in a bun, then it's a sandwich.
Okay. Is
Sorry.
cereal soup?
No,
Okay.
no. I don't believe, just and to be clear, gazpacho is not soup either. That is cold. It's like drinking salsa. That's different. Different.
Eh. Oh, all right. That I have like a weird like food. Never mind. All right.
Yep. I just ruined your whole day. You're welcome.
And I'm going to Mexico on Sunday, and that's all I've been thinking about is like salsa and margaritas. And now all I'm going to be is like, oh,
Yeah.
that's soup. Like
Wow.
it's just
It's
taking
been a
like
while since I've
shooters.
ruined someone's vacation too. There you go. Glad I could help.
Coke or Pepsi?
Oh, Coke.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
no, and I do want to touch on what you had a lot of good mentors when we like first talked. We had a lot of good mentor stories,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's like it's been so funny how it's become a very common thread in all of like these conversations I've been having.
Yeah.
What when did mentorship start for you? When did it start? Who were some of like the people? What were some of maybe just the, you know, one or two just main things that just always like click and resonate? Was it a word? Was it a phrase? Because usually, you know, it is a lot of things, but each person, it's usually this like one or two. It's like it's their little like click, their little, you know, like light bulb moment almost. But yeah, when like did you have good? Like, did it start with Ethan Allen? Like, did you have good mentors there? And with like radio stuff, was it more once you got to clubs? What was the beginning of it?
Yeah, I would say I recognized it the most when I got to clubs. There was probably some prior to that, but the most impactful ones for me were when I started at clubs, specifically Sleepy Hollow. John Barish was my AGM, and again, he's the island general manager now at Gibson Island Club. Great guy. I mean, he had took so many students on. He had a great internship program, and he was one of the ones that really he made me want to be a club manager. And from John, I mean, it was a look, right? It wasn't a word, it was a look. You could see because John had ways of being stoic. God, I hope he hears this. This would be hysterical. He had ways of being stoic, and you could see in John with the arms crossed, the look, and you see the like worried look, like, oh God, look at John, something's wrong. Like he's not going to tell you what it is, but something was wrong, and he kind of had that look. But the moment the arms were uncrossed and the hands were folded in front, and he's looking around, and he would like nod. He would like nod in like approval. I'm not sure if he knows he does it. That was the moment I was like, okay, we're good. We've done this correctly. But really, he taught me so much about the club business. He was so great to me. He got me in CMAA, which I didn't even know was a thing. I didn't know it existed. And, now I've been, on boards of local chapters and everything. And I love it, and I get everyone into it. He's really the reason I get everyone involved in CMAA, because it makes such a difference. It was really because of him. But it didn't stop there. I had the next gentleman I worked for at Nassau Country Club. Tom was also the same way, but the same but different, if that makes sense. Tom very much was like, uh, I got to take you to the basement. You got to look at the boiler. I'm like, I don't want to look at the boiler. It's going to ruin my shoes. He's like, come on, we're going to the basement. So we go to the basement. We go to the roof to look at, what's failing on the roof. I'm like, well, this is fun. Can we get down now? It's snowing. He's like, no, we got to be up here. This is what GMs do. And he just dragged me everywhere, which was great, which was really great. I had sort of a leg up when it came to, facility maintenance and all that stuff when I started as a GM, which is something not a lot of GMs, first time GMs have. So really, I got that great background from them, and they both just believed in me so much, and it was incredible to have them both in my corner.
No, that's really cool, really great, really powerful. This second one, John, cracks me up because I could hear and probably think of some managers, some people going, why would he, you have other people to do that. But it's, if you don't at least get your feet wet a little bit and like look and peek and make sure, you got to keep
Mm-hmm.
everybody on your toes. And I believe, you got to know, well, at least to get your, CCMs, you have to know more, than enough to be dangerous. But like, it's
Yeah,
knowing those like little things. And it's like when those like little like red flags go up, you can just like detect them quicker. You're like, that doesn't seem right. What do you mean? Like, I was just up there. Like, there's
yeah,
no way that needs to be cleaned. Like, just,
yeah.
people trying to, pull a fast one on you or, say
Oh yeah.
something.
Oh,
Um,
exactly.
but
That's
no,
the thing about club management. You have to know like a little bit about a lot of things. That's really what it is. You don't have to be an expert. You should hire experts, let them do their jobs, but you need to know a little bit about a lot.
well, especially with like interpersonal, like just knowing enough about each sport in each game and enough to how you can say enough to let them go, oh, I didn't know that they know, and then you can pivot that conversation really quick to something else. Like, so you can't get stuck. That's the trick. You can't try to sound and be like, oh, and then they start having a conversation like, oh no, I really know nothing
Yeah.
about the Eagles. No.
Yeah. Well, my favorite actually, so being a female club manager too, is when I can dazzle the finance guys with my finance knowledge.
Ooh,
That's
ooh,
always my favorite. When I'm talking about US Treasury rates and base points, and everyone's like,
man,
whoa, wait a minute.
you be
She knows
flexing
about the
hard.
market? Yeah. Yeah. That's my favorite. I mean, I literally have to pick the jaws up off the ground. It's pretty incredible.
No riz,
That's another one
all
Tom
cap.
taught me though too. Tom said that. He said, always know your numbers. Always know your numbers. That was another one I got from Tom. I can hear
Ah.
it in my head still. Now, like, spread, you give me a good spreadsheet, and I'm like, woo, having a great time.
No, no,
Not gonna
just
happen.
just the worst.
Yeah,
Just the worst. Maybe now you can make things like look nice, but I'm just ugh.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
ugh.
I can color code with the best of them, Denny. Don't you worry.
How are the
Yeah.
pups?
They're driving me nuts. They're okay. My wife's got this new thing where they're not allowed on the couch, right? Because it's like, I'm not, she's like, I'm sick of cleaning the couch. They're not allowed on the couch. I'm like, then you tell them. I'm not taking that dog off the couch. Look at him. He's sleeping. He's snoring. He's having a great time. I'm not taking him off the couch. You take him off the couch.
Especially once it's already been established they could be on the couch.
I mean, for years, right? We have a ramp. There's stairs that go up to the couch just for them.
We have we ended up ordering them from like Amazon. They're like these like foam steps we got
Yeah.
because Bella's 16 and we hate
Yeah.
her like jumping, even though she still does. But
Of
like
course.
they're everywhere. And now she'll sometimes use them. Like, oh,
Yeah.
she's a little bougie thing. Uh,
So I think we have the same ones at my house. And my one dog, the youngest, who I'm not even sure, if I didn't see a scan of it, I wouldn't believe he had a brain. Um, if we don't have them up against the couch, he'll walk up the stairs, like in the middle of the room, and just get stuck. And he'll just start barking like someone needs to save. Like I say, I'm like, just please don't leave the stairs in the middle of the room, because he'll climb the stairs to nowhere and he'll be stuck there for an hour.
oh, buddy.
It's so dumb.
Oh,
So
buddy.
cute. So dumb.
Oh,
He's something.
that's amazing though.
He's a little black and tan Frenchie. Oh yeah, he's the cutest.
Oh,
Total moron. Total moron. Yeah. Super cute.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
of course. Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here. If there's ever anything I can do, you let me know.
Hope you all enjoyed that episode. I know I did. Dana, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your journey, your story with all of us here. It means the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Anything you can do to help move the channel forward means the absolute world. That's this episode. Until next time, catch y'all on the flippity flip.